Hello, hello, hello. In today's episode of the podcast, I'm going to be talking about marketing audit case study. I'm going to discuss how I audited a small business and the issues that I found. For context, I'm going to be talking about a client, but I'm not going to mention the particular client. They are an insurance company, a small insurance company. So basically, they sell insurance, car, and other types of insurance. Specifically, it was a small organization. And this organization, the CEO just felt that marketing could do more. He just had that gut feeling that marketing wasn't really working. And for context, there was no marketing person in the organization. What I mean is there was no senior marketing person in the leadership team. So the leadership team has the head of product, had the commercial director, the sales director, and then the customer service director. I'm going to divide this case study into 4 sections. I'm going to talk about objectives. I'm going to talk about how I evaluated the current performance. And then I'm going to talk about the opportunities and gaps that I was able to identify. And then I'm going to finish with the improvements that I made. So first things first, the objective from the CEO's perspective was he wanted me to come in and help him build an internal marketing team. He wanted to take control of their marketing from the external agency because they had a Google Ads agency and an SEO agency. He wanted to bring that in-house. That was the first objective. The second objective is he felt that the agency that he was working with were incentivized because they were charging X amount in terms of a percentage of the Google Ads spend. That was their primary motivation. The CEO just felt that they were more incentivized to spend more of his marketing budget rather than focus on actual results. So he just didn't have a good feeling. And then the CEO also felt that the agency was not fully integrated into the business. They hardly even came into the business to kind of have meetings. So it was like the agency was in London and the organization was in the middle of the UK. So he just felt like there was a disconnect between his organization and the agency. So that's why he brought me on board. Like, okay, my objective was to bridge that gap. And another thing that he wanted me to do, he felt that the agency didn't really understand the strategy. The agency didn't really even give them a marketing strategy. And he just felt everything was very tactical. And he actually didn't have a document to show that, okay, this is their strategy, this is what they're doing. And he felt he needed that. So another thing that the CEO wanted to do was also he wanted to make sure that he, as a business owner, he was getting too involved in marketing. And he didn't want that. He wanted to just hand over marketing to someone and focus on growing the business. So, and manage the other product teams, customer service team, and all those other teams. So that was the objective why he brought me in. So another thing that he also wanted to do was he wanted me to evaluate the performance of the agency. He just felt that the agents, there was something, he had that gut feeling. So what did I do? When we agreed and signed, I told him that the engagement was going to last 5 to 7 months because the goal of me going into an organization is not to stay there long term, is to develop the leadership team, train them to understand important things about marketing, and then in-house, create an in-house marketing team. So that was what I started doing. So the first thing I did was set up a meeting with the Google Ads agency to kind of help me understand what they're doing, help me understand the skills within the agency to kind of understand if they're actually delivering value. So I requested to set up a meeting. I went into their London office, asked them to kind of give me an overview of the current setup, what the Google Ads looks like, and everything that they were running. And I quickly understood that, like most agencies, they were focused on just the platform optimization. They were not really engaging with the landing page and the rest of the journey. So I kind of quickly identified that, okay, that's one of the barriers to growth. So I then looked at, okay, what is the relationship between the Google Ads agency and then the SEO agency? Then I realized that, okay, this is a bit awkward. And then I also wanted to find out the KPIs that the agency was measuring on, what they were targeting. And I realized that action that it termed conversion was further away from the actual quote, like people actually getting an insurance quote and actually paying for it. So I realized that, okay, there was a vanity metrics being measured there. So that was one of the things that I identified, and I quickly realized that the organization was really, really burning money on marketing. Then I also looked at the end-to-end funnel. So I looked at the Google ads, I looked at the SEO, I looked at even the customer service, I looked at the email marketing, and just look at the whole journey, look at all the journey on the website. And I quickly saw that there were issues. For example, the website had like 7 stages for the getting a quote from an insurance quote, and I felt that was too long. So I started with doing an audit. So I did an audit of the website. I did a SEO audit. I also did the Google Ads audit with the agency to kind of understand gaps that they were missing. I did the conversion optimization audit. I looked at all the form on the website, and even the SEO audits and the AI overview, all general audits. I did the brand audits, and that created a document and a recommendation on improvements that we were going to make. So the first thing I did was work with the agency and work with the in-house digital team to define the actual conversion. So once we define the actual conversion, then we change the conversion tracking to reflect that. So instantly, the agency was now motivated to actually work hard to get the actual conversion, because the initial conversion they were tracking was vanity metrics. So that was the first thing. Then the second thing I did was I worked with the analytics team. They had a data scientist. So I worked with that individual, worked with the website team to define and create a dashboard. So what we did was we created like a live dashboard, and we had like a big screen. So the CEO's office had like the commercial director, the product director, the head of customer service. It was like an open plan office just for the leadership team. So they had like a big screen that was just lying idle. So I worked with the tech guys in the organization to then create a dashboard. That dashboard was showing actual conversion, showing actual quotes, showing important metrics. That it was like a live dashboard that kind of updated, and then the CEO could kind of control it and show weekly, monthly. And that kind of created that sense where the business KPIs was visible. So if there was any issues, maybe sales was going down or conversions was going down, everyone, not just the CEO, could see it on the big screen. So the reason why I did this was to create a culture of accountability, a culture of data that they can see rather than assumptions. Then we move into the next stage where I worked with the PA to the CEO to get CVs, because mind you, my goal was to bring in marketing expertise into the organization as well as train those individuals. So I started by hiring a very junior person, someone that came straight out of university, and I emphasized on getting someone with a marketing background. Having worked in marketing for a few years, I realized that a lot of people in marketing don't have a marketing background. And for me personally, I feel, although it's not important in some instances, but in areas where I can control, I always encourage hiring someone with a marketing background. So I brought in this young lady, started training her, kind of helped her talk to the CEO to kind of book trainings for her to kind of help her learn about the fundamentals of SEO, the fundamentals of email marketing, and all the other stuff. So whilst I was doing this, I had done an end-to-end audit, the email audit, all the audits, and then I started implementing. I started with the most impactful area, which was the website funnels. I did an end-to-end audit and started by squeezing the customer journey on the website and making sure that the form optimization, the landing page optimization, everything. I use qualitative analytics to get heat map and session replay data, and those kind of inform that, okay, these are where people are dropping off from the funnel, and we're able to increase conversion about 65% by eliminating the drop-off point on the website. So that was the second thing I did. So while that was running, we were not getting effective conversions from the traffic from Google Ads. And then I made sure that the Google Ads audit was also implemented. So they started seeing improvements and increase in conversion from paid advertising. Then I started focusing more on the organic search side of things. So the person I hired was also good with content production. So I created a content plan. And that content plan then started churning out organic, human written content. We tried and we just avoided AI content. But what we did with AI was to use it for the research phase to kind of identify important gaps, and we started creating content. that started funneling organic traffic. We also looked at video production. We looked at the YouTube channel, started producing content. So we're getting a lot of conversions and awareness coming from the organic channel as well. So fast forward, we started interviewing as well. So I interviewed another manager, brought that person in, and then I was kind of developing that person. And then towards the end of my engagement, I then helped them hire a head of marketing. So that was how I just kind of started with an audit, audited the business, made sure all the marketing issues and blockers that they have was corrected, and then brought in that in-house capability. So what I'm trying to say here is the marketing audit just didn't involve just digital alone. Also looked at the brand, refreshed the brand as well. So the goal was to help the CEO have that marketing center of excellence in-house and reduce the reliance. So towards the end of the engagement, they then transitioned all the Google ads in-house, because transitioning it in-house saved them 15%, because normally they pay 15% of the Google ad spend to the agency. We eliminated that cost, and that cost was absorbed, used to pay internal stakeholders, internal employees. So when it comes to a marketing audit, depending on who does your marketing audit, if it's an agency that does that audit, most of the time they would want you to keep them on a retainer. But the goal of marketing is to help reduce the cost of marketing. When you reduce the cost of marketing, you increase the profit margin for the business. And you can't really have a sustainable cost when you are outsourcing a lot of the skills that you should have in-house. So one thing I encourage business owners is you can start working with someone like myself to help you build your own internal marketing capability. And if you're not looking to ever hire a marketer, if you're a business owner that has the capacity, then I can also train you to kind of have that internal capacity, and I can be like an advisor to you. So what I'm trying to say here is, for every small business owner, you need to do your marketing audit at least once every 12 months, and you need to engage with a growth marketing consultant like myself to help you with that. My name is Femi Olajiga. If you need a template of a growth marketing strategy, contact me and I'll be happy to help you. Thank you. Bye.